Hi, my name is Leslie Stallhut. Some of you may know me as Crochet Buck. As a child, I loved building with blocks, and now that I'm all grown up, I continue in this tradition, but now I use pieces of crochet. And one of my favorite motifs to build with is what I call the Bauhaus Block. Here's a completed one. It's not attached to any other Bauhaus blocks, but this is the point from which many of my larger projects begin. So to make your own Bauhaus blocks, you need some worsted weight yarn and a hook. I recommend a 4.25 or a 4.5 millimeter hook. It gives you a fairly dense, not terribly drapable piece of crochet, but it's excellent for piecing together for things like coasters, beach blankets, purses. It's a very, very sturdy piece from which to begin your projects. One of the first things that you do is you have to have a very long tail. It should be 32 to 36 inches long for a square that measures 8 single crochet stitches across and for 8 rows. So you start by making a slip loop, and then you put your hook there, and then you make 9 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you're new to crochet, this might not be so familiar to you, but there's a front side to your stitches. And see here, you can see it looks like a chain. That's why it's called a chain stitch. And then there's a back side. And you'll see that there are ridges. So you're going to skip the first ridge, and you're going to put your hook in the second ridge and make your first single crochet stitch. So that's 1. And you're going to put your hook into the next ridge and complete your second stitch, and the third ridge and complete your third stitch. And you're going to do that all the way across until you have 8 stitches. Now, the reason I like to work my crochet stitch into the very back ridge of a stitch is that then when I go to join the pieces, I have this nice chain to work into. Everything's all nice and tidy, and it all fits together neatly. And that just makes me happy. Then you chain 1, and you turn your piece just as if you were turning the page of a book. And you're going to work your first stitch, your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then your 8th. If you're new to crochet, you're going to want to watch your ends, because this is where you're most likely to make an error in placing your stitch. So you chain that one so that you can turn, then you flip it over just the way you would the page of a book, and then insert the hook. You skip that chain you just made, and you insert the hook right there, and continue making your single crochet stitches. chain 1, turn, halfway through, 4 more rows to go. There are actually people who don't think this is fun. I imagine they're not this far into this particular video. Here we are with row 7. The penultimate row. Penultimate being one of my favorite words. And now for row 8, just 8 more stitches, and I will show you how to finish off your square so that it's prepared to be joined to all of the other squares that you might make. The beauty of the Bauhaus block is that you can have a very small amount of yarn and you can work it into a much larger piece. Okay, so now I trim the ends. I move it along like that so I get them about the same length. And I trim it and I pull that all the way through. So the reason I have these long ends is that you can see this is not perfectly straight and this is not perfectly straight, and that bothers people like me who want things to fit perfectly. So then what I do is there's also definitely a front and a back to this. You can see there's a line here, a line here, and a line here. On the reverse side, you'll see there's a little bit here. There's a line here, 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 and here. So this is what I think of as the back of the square, and this is what I think of as the front of the square. Now you're going to do what's called a tambour crochet across the edges. And a tambour crochet is simply working a slip stitch across the top of your crochet body. So you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places where you can easily poke your hook into the fabric and grab the yarn from the other side. So we're going to start by doing that. We're going to go through this first hole and grab the yarn. Now we're going to go through the next one, grab the yarn, and make a slip stitch. 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitches, 3 slip stitches, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then you pull that through, and now you have to come up and pull the longer piece through to the back side. And you can see now we have a much tidier edge than what we had. So now we need to do the other side. And we're going to go under this chain as we did for the other one and pull the yarn up. Then we're going to work 1 slip stitch per row. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we just need to bring this long tail to the back side of our Bauhaus block. And we're ready to make another one. And you make a dozen, 2 dozen, or a bazillion of these, and then you're good to go and you can start piecing them together. But that will be a topic for another video.